Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Saxon reaction video where, just kind of like what we did with Crusader, ladies and gentlemen, this one may be a little bit of a cheat because technically we are doing two songs for the price of one today, but that's also because the return is literally less than 90 seconds, so I suppose we can almost conjure this sort of thing as the introduction to the next song, which is pretty much what you guys are here for, Lionheart. So, based off of the namesake, and based off of conjecture as well, not really conjecture, but I'm starting to get an impression, ladies and gentlemen, that Saxon, or at least somebody involved in Saxon, was a tremendous fan of Richard the First, or Richard the Lionheart, as he's probably better known as. And what made Richard the Lionheart, since this one is mostly going to be involving Richard, or Coeur de Lion, as we may as well, we'll go off that beat as well, is that he ruled for... I say ruled over England, but that's not really true, because he, like many people born in the 12th century, he only stuck around for 42 years, which, hey, even for the late 12th century, that's still actually, that's good innings. Like, the life expectancy, remember, during the Middle Ages was disastrously short. I mean, you could talk about the nuances between, and this was even before things like the Black Death, or and it was. Okay, so let me see if I've got this straight, ladies and gentlemen, because I know I'm sort of going back to history class from 2010, and my history probably is nowhere near as sharp as I think it should be. But let me see if I got this straight. So you get William the Conqueror took over England from Harold, who was the son of Edward the Confessor. So okay, so you got Edward the Confessor, Harold. I will remember Harold. It wasn't Hardrada, but someone who ironically was I'm pretty sure Hardrada was one of he was Saxon, wasn't he? Which, that might be a theme there going on. But if I remember correctly, I suppose. William the Conqueror takes over in 1066. Then it's King Stephen, and then it's got to be Stephen, and then King John, which is where you get the Doomsday Book, and then you get Richard the First. I'm probably, or I know I'm already like way off, but then again, it's been. Oh God, how long has it been? It's been well over 15 years since I last studied medieval England, and the events of that probably must be extremely flimsy at best. Because again, let me think about it again. William the Conqueror, so 1066. How long did William the Conqueror stay on the throne of England for? Yeah, that's the thing, because I know it goes William, Stephen, John definitely was John on the throne immediately after Stephen, or did John the First did he take over from Richard the First? It couldn't have been. No, that was okay. So maybe this is one of those things I have to enforce myself on, because I can't remember off the top of my head whether or not it goes William, Stephen, John, then Richard the First. I thought that maybe Henry the First, or possibly maybe another Edward, was on the throne before we get to Richard the First. I know that it wasn't like Henry the Second was like Edward the Second was probably a lot after, because Eleanor of Aquitaine was, I believe, 14th century at least, so we're talking like a good 100 years out. But the point is, ladies and gentlemen, is that why Richard was so heavily thought of is because he was the commander during the Third Crusade to essentially retake the Holy Land from then leader Saladin. I'll have to remember off the back of my head, but was Saladin the Sultan, or was he? What's the appropriate name for a king who worships? Would you even have? Would that even be the appropriate? Like, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, because I know fine well that maybe Saladin really was the Sultan, or maybe this is where probably getting into this song will probably give me a bit of a better explanation. Consider this almost a very unique style of history, ladies and gentlemen, and no doubt the sort of thing I can already hear people literally screaming at their monitors saying that I look as stupid as I talk. But what can you do? You can only learn, ladies and gentlemen, by getting things wrong, and, well, I'd rather get things wrong now than make myself look stupid even after I've been told, so I can't really blame anyone except myself by that point. So with all that being said and done, let's get into Lionheart properly, shall we? Maybe this was the procession that Richard I had when he was being buried at Notre Dame. And that's no coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. He really was buried at Notre Dame. And I'm kind of surprised that his remains weren't actually taken back to Westminster. But maybe the English still had some sort of stronghold over the French by that point, which I couldn't imagine so. I mean, I know Charlemagne couldn't have been the king at this time, but that's kind of interesting. The more I think about it, is that why was Richard buried at Notre Dame and not taken back to England? Oh my, wow, just... Well, that's certainly, but that's no doubt to my mind, ladies and gentlemen, that absolutely this has to honestly be probably my, as far as being a metalhead goes, this absolutely has to be. I don't actually know if I can say this is probably my favorite Saxon song so far, but you know what? Actually, it might just be. And I think it's down for one very simple reason. Good lord, do they do Richard some justice? Because guess what? This isn't even the first time they talked about the Holy Crusade. Again, 20 years ago, well, at least 20 years ago as far as back as 2004, so back in 84, they did an entire album literally called Crusade, and whatever else, the title song literally went on for nearly 7 minutes as well. And apparently it was enough to actually get Saxon banned for life from Saudi Arabia, apparently. Yeah, I've heard about that. But what I've also heard is that, hey, maybe in 2004, Saudi Arabia, they were willing to overturn Saxon's lifetime ban, and then I think Saxon probably came out with this. I joke, by the way, that's probably not true at all. But what was true, however, was apparently the infamous dictator Idi Amin died in Saudi Arabia in 2003. I think he was in exile or something like that, but... well, whatever that has to do with anything, I literally don't know. But what I still have to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that, wow. Do Saxon please tell me they do more songs based on Richard I, because I think they ought to do that, ladies and gentlemen, because it's one thing to commemorate and celebrate such a historical figure. It's also another thing that you do it like they dedicate so much to his status as protector of the state, defender of the faith, sovereign king of probably of all of England. In fact, whether or not, and again, whether or not my sense of history is a little bit a little bit out there, wasn't it also true that Richard came to the throne when he was only 9 years old? I've heard a little bit about that, but you're basically talking about a child who was basically to be king and ruler for the next 33 years may sound incredibly short by today's standards, ladies and gentlemen, even as the head of state, the king basically. But what else am I even meant to say? His status and his impact and is absolutely on display. And this might actually be one of those times, ladies and gentlemen, where I will say, honest to God, I wish we could study more guys like Richard I in history classes. And I know it's going to be, I don't want to start sounding like one of those sorts of people, but you know what? Hey, you know what? He's about as much a part of history as everyone else. And to find out how we got here, we have to go all the way back to even before societies that we know of were even established. So you kind of do need to learn about guys like Henry I or Eleanor of Aquitaine or of Alfred the Great. Because, honest to God, without them, how would we even get here? If that makes sense. But again, it may be the more of the sort of thing that would appeal to those who are interested in medieval history. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, there is so much to love about medieval history. In particular, that it inspires songs like Lionheart, and it inspires the very souls of the people of Saxon. Because, good Lord, this was just fantastic from start to finish. I love the intro as well. It's like you could either say it is the inauguration of Richard becoming king, or his interments being remained at the place they would call Notre Dame in Paris. Fantastic! What an absolute joy that was. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, there is still a lot to go on this album, and it goes from being fast, aggressive, capturing lightning in a bottle, to somber, solemn, and full of heart. And with all that being said and done, I hope each and every one of you guys enjoyed Lionheart by Saxon, the song at the very least, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. So take care, and bye-bye for now.